Okay, well, we will go ahead and get started to be mindful of everyone's time. I know this is right at the lunch hour, so appreciate you guys so much joining us for this training that the City of Sandy Springs Economic Development Department is providing for the business community in Sandy Springs. So, couple of housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. It will be shared out in the next couple of days, so might be first thing next week. It takes a little while for the recording to come down from the cloud. For that, be looking for an email from Retail Strategies with this recording and with the slide deck that we are sharing. Also, the chat is open as well as the Q&A box. So if you have anything that you'd like to share publicly, you can do that in the chat box. If you have something that you want to ask privately, you can do that in the Q&A box. And I'll be sure to answer those questions as we go along. So my name is Jen Gregory. I'm the president of Downtown Strategies at our company, Retail Strategies. And I've had the privilege of working with small businesses and city governments and downtowns in 25 states across the country, about 165 cities. So we have visited with a lot of unique places, many of which have similar challenges, and that is that their small businesses have big ideas and they are looking to bring them to market, bring them to the communities, but there is an opportunity for training and for technical assistance to provide some of these to help boost some of these big ideas into reality. So thank you guys for introducing yourselves. Again, continue to use that chat box. We want this to be interactive and informal. We want to be able to help you as we go along. Today, we are talking all about marketing for startups. So marketing strategies for new businesses, specifically how you can implement some of these kind of ever-changing marketing opportunities, maybe with a small budget and just doing this yourself. Several of you joined us for the Omni-Channel Retail Strategies training a couple of months ago. Really appreciate you guys doing that. This will build on that just a bit, but if you weren't able to attend that training, you are not missing anything, so don't worry about that. So we are going to spend the next hour talking about really launching your startup with a smart marketing plan. Your business may already be open. You may have been open for 5 or more years, but maybe you're looking for marketing strategy. So we're going to talk about that first, then have some dedicated question and answer time. But again, please ask those as we go along. And then there is some bonus content in this deck that we're not going to be able to get to in this hour, but it's kind of some new strategies that we've put together that we think will be helpful. And it is really 5 digital marketing tips to grow your startup or your business. So be looking for that in the follow-up because we think that will be helpful as you move forward with your business's growth pattern. So just briefly, our company, Retail Strategies, we are based in Birmingham, Alabama. I actually manage our Mississippi office in Starkville, Mississippi. And we have worked in 40 plus states across the country. I myself, as I mentioned, have worked with communities in 25 states, and we are a community development consulting firm. So we focus on retail recruitment, downtown revitalization, retail training, and supporting small businesses. So really appreciate our partnership with Sandy Springs, and I know all of you are grateful for the training that they are bringing to you today. So let's start with our content. Let's just jump right in. I'm going to turn my camera off so that you guys can get the full screen, but I'll be right here. And if there's anything that you guys need or want to talk about, of course, then let me know and we will answer those questions as we go. And that's not my picture, but don't know why it's doing that. So let's jump right in. When we think about marketing, we know that this world is really ever changing. We know social media's algorithm changes just about every month, every year. There are constantly new ways, new opportunities, Google Ads, Yelp, there are site words, and all kinds of opportunities to really jump in, and it can be difficult to know where to start. The build it and they will come theory, though, with your business doesn't really hold much weight. And those kind of overnight success stories that you hear about are often the result of behind the scenes years of hard work. So simply put, startup marketing is a unique challenge, oftentimes because of limited resources, whether it's time, money, or talent. You have to be sure that every effort, no matter how small, is well planned and flawlessly executed. And to make it even more difficult, the traditional marketing strategies don't always work. So startup marketing is really a whole different science. The secret is properly combining the right channels of content marketing and PR, public relations. So starting from the beginning, we are going to go through what we perceive to be the complete startup marketing manual. You can see that there are 4 components of the startup marketing manual, and we're going to go through each one. And some of these individual steps have multiple steps or opportunities within. So let's jump right in to our first component to the startup marketing manual, which is the foundation. Before you start laying bricks, you need a solid foundation. And so a successful startup marketing strategy really follows that same principle. Before you jump into marketing your startup, make sure you have these 5 bases covered. And we're going to go through each one of these bases of really the foundation for your marketing startup plans. Choosing a market, defining keywords, defining success, setting core metrics, estimating a conversion rate, and setting a budget. So let's get started with the first component of laying a solid foundation for your marketing efforts, which is to choose a market. Many of you have likely already done this. It's easy for startup founders to believe that the whole world will love their products or their services. After all, you as a business founder eat, sleep, and breathe your products, your services, and really your existence. But the reality is only a small portion of the population is interested in your product. If you try to market your startup to everyone, you waste both time and money. So the key is to identify a niche target market and go after market share aggressively. So how do you do this? How do you choose a market? There are 4 main factors to consider, and you can see those 4 factors listed here. Let's go through each one. So to get started, market size. Are you targeting a regional demographic, male, children? Do you know exactly how many potential customers are in your target market? Your target market can't be everyone. So really filtering it down to who is your buyer? What is the persona of that buyer? And really focusing on marketing and promoting to that individual market. Next, market wealth. Does this market have the money to spend on your product? And so really matching up that buyer persona with demographics. Is your product high end? Well, then your market persona needs to be that high end customer. Where do they live? What neighborhoods do they live in? And are you promoting and marketing directly to them? Market competition. Is the market already saturated? Are there many competitors? Who are those competitors? And when we look at the competitors, what is your differentiating factor or your value proposition? What value are you providing? How are you different than the competition? Why should they choose you? And is your value proposition unique enough to cut through the noise? So these are some questions that you should answer if you haven't already done so on your own. Jot them down and start really following your shoppers. Your shoppers are the ones that are making purchases with you in that market that you identified. And if not, it's never too late to start to shift. The second component of laying a solid foundation for your marketing efforts, and this is a big one, is to define your keywords. That might seem kind of basic, but with keywords, we're talking about words that somebody may search on Google when they are looking for you. With a clearly defined market that we've already established, answering those questions in the previous slide, those 4 questions, You can then begin to build a keyword list. You will use this keyword list primarily for blogging, social media, and your main marketing site. That may be your Shopify site, your e-commerce site. Essentially, you want to build a list of words or phrases that are highly relevant to your brand. So ask yourself this: what would someone type into Google to find your business's website? So first, you'll want to start with a core keyword list. This is a list of 3 to 5 keywords that completely summarize what your business does. For example, if you are a content management company, your core keyword list might be customer acquisition, content marketing, and startup PR. For our company, retail strategies, our keywords are retail recruitment, quality of life, downtown revitalization, small business support. These keywords are based on our value proposition. What do we do? How do we add value? How are we different than our competitors? And what is it that we're actually offering to our customers? So these keywords need to be identified and written down. Next, you'll want to expand your core keyword list to include secondary keywords. Secondary keywords are more specific. So take content marketing from our previous example, the core keyword from earlier, and the secondary keywords might include corporate blogging, blogging best practices, email marketing how-to, etc. For retail strategies, our secondary keywords might be generating sales tax, rural markets. These take it a step further and really go a little bit deeper into who our customers are, what they want, and again, what that value proposition is. And then finally, you'll want to use free tools to find the keywords that are already sending traffic to your website, if you have one. Then run those core keywords through tools such as Google's keyword tool and Ubersuggest is another. The best keywords found through these tools will be identified by low competition and high traffic. In other words, a lot of people are searching for these items, but few results are being displayed. And this is really a key component to digital marketing. And we know that, online sales and the customer is informing themselves online more than ever before. So this is really the key to make sure that you're not trying to be all things to all people, but instead you're really trying to focus on what the consumer wants and how you can provide it. A little tip is that your core keywords make excellent blog categories. We're going to talk a little bit about content marketing and creating blog posts. And a lot of us think blog, that's, so 10 years ago. What we're talking about here is your website having a news little tab at the top, for example, where you are posting created content, 4 to 5 paragraphs of information about things that your customers may be looking for. It's not promoting your products, but creating content to drive traffic to your website. So when you create that news section, you can categorize all your posts, and categorizing them through those core keywords is a great way, again, to drive traffic to your website. The third component of laying a solid foundation for your marketing efforts is to define success. Success is different for every startup. Maybe success is 500 new signups per month on your e-newsletter, for example. That may be a success for startup A, while startup B thinks success is $50,000 in revenue per month. Whatever your idea of success may be, define it early and define it rigidly. Write it down and send it to the entire team. Make sure everyone that you're working with knows your definition of success and is prepared to work towards it. Some companies may be in growth mode. So while revenue is important, they're trying to grow their client base, create a portfolio, maybe grow their online presence, promote themselves to new customers, get new email signups, grow their social media presence. Whereas a business that is already surpassed kind of that growth mode, they may be in scaling mode. So they're ready to take that success of kind of brand recognition and take it to the next level with new revenue. Every business is different, but you and your team need to know what success is, and then be sure to stay consistent. It doesn't matter if you're defining success by signups, revenue, profit, or anything else you can think of. What does matter is that it's tied to real growth, not vanity success, and that it's measured the same way each month. This is really what we call the scorecard. What are your metrics and how are you measuring them? Look at those metrics every single month. So for example, don't define success as 500 new signups one month and then $50,000 in revenue the next. Pick one definition and commit to it. The fourth component of laying a solid foundation for your marketing efforts is to set core metrics. Just as you shouldn't indulge vanity success, which we mentioned in the slide earlier, you also shouldn't indulge vanity metrics. Some have referred to working with vanity metrics as, playing in success theater. While vanity metrics are appealing, they are useless. They are not tied to real growth, meaning you won't know if your startup is a roaring success or a total flop until it is far too late. So you need to be sure that your core metrics are accurately measurable and specific. For example, let's assume you've defined success as 500 new signups per month, as we identified earlier. You might measure the conversion rate of 3 calls to sign up. The idea is to have a few highly valuable metrics based on actions taken throughout the customer acquisition funnel. And that's kind of a industry-specific name, that customer acquisition funnel. But we're trying to take people that visit your website, that are interested in your product, and turn it into a conversion, whether that's a click, a sign up, a subscription, downloading an ebook, making a purchase. You can't measure everything. So focus on kind of the key indicators of success. If you're only measuring revenue, then think about what those action items are that will get you revenue. Maybe it's contracts. Maybe it is actual sale at your point of sale system at the cash register. Maybe it's cash register sales as compared to online sales. What is your path to get to your measure of success, and how can you measure that path by actionable items? And so we have a little tip, record baseline metrics right away so you can easily determine your growth. Many businesses that we talk with through our small business support platform, they don't have metrics. When we think about restaurants and we ask, what is your most popular menu item? Everybody really seems to love the po' boy. Well, do you have data that supports that? Does your point of sale system track how many po' boys you're selling versus how many salads you're selling? So starting today with recording baseline metrics, starting to develop data is how you're really going to determine your growth patterns and the best way for you to grow and scale. The fifth component of laying a solid foundation for your marketing efforts is to estimate conversion. So we talked about conversion as, an action-based item. So here, you'll want to assign conversion rates and values. So consider newsletter signups, for example. 100 new newsletter signups per month could be incredible growth if your conversion rate is 20%. That is, if 20% of your newsletter subscribers become paying customers. But if your conversion rate is closer to 1%, those 100 newsletter signups may be insignificant. So here we're really looking at quality versus quantity. Estimate based on historical data, or as we talked about in the previous slide, just start recording data. Estimate your lead conversion rate. So a lead is someone that visits your website, someone that comes in your store, someone that signs up for an e-newsletter. And then estimate the rate of conversion, basically the action taken, the point from a lead to a purchaser. Now do the same to estimate the lifetime value of a customer. If you know how many of your leads convert to a sale and how much those conversions generate for you in terms of dollars, you can assign values to goal completions like newsletter signups. So for example, $2,500 per month from your newsletter is a lot more indicative of success than just 100 new newsletter signups. So this is really where we want to look at, again, quality. If your conversion rate on your newsletter is 1%, that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong in getting those signups. It means that maybe the information in your newsletter is not valuable to your consumer. It's not pushing them closer to the point of transaction. And this is really what marketing is all about, whether it's newspaper marketing, e-newsletter, social media. You are wanting to nudge that consumer closer and closer to a purchase without outright just annoyingly promoting your products, right? So again, knowing how much money is being generated by your newsletter, by your social media posts, and all of these things, thanks to some wonderful data tools, is possible. We can start to really track these things, start paying attention to it, make a spreadsheet, and do the best you can. Even if you're just tracking one element, you're getting data that helps you know how to be better. And so the sixth and final component of laying a solid foundation for your marketing efforts is to set a budget. At the end of the day, it does all come down to money. How much can you afford to spend on your startup marketing strategy? Remember that while inbound marketing leads cost 61% less than outbound marketing leads, they're still not free. And so what we mean by this inbound leads means that someone finds you. They find your website, they fill out a form, they request more information, they ask a question on social media. These are inbound leads. Outbound marketing leads are where you are sending information out to email addresses that you have. You are pushing information out and someone interacts with that post. But either way, you're spending time and in some cases money to create this content. So you really need to set a budget early in the game and accept, that limitation that your budget really creates. More importantly, carefully plan how you intend to divide that budget. Maybe your blog, that news category on your website, has been your most powerful tool to date, and you want to invest 40% of your budget on your blog. Or maybe you want to spend 35% of your budget to develop a new ebook or an online course, something that someone can download of value. If you're a retailer, maybe this is a holiday gift guide that you're creating. These things take time and in some cases money. Be sure to have the logistics settled before you just start randomly spending money. So identify where you're going to spend those dollars and then monitor those expenses. 57% of startup marketing managers are not basing their marketing budgets on any ROI analysis. And ROI, of course, return on investment. For many of you, startup marketing managers is you, right? You may be the owner of your business. You may be your only employee. And so you're wearing a lot of hats, but I can't tell you the number of businesses that we work with. And I ask, what is your marketing budget? And they say, I don't have one. You've got to have one. Just like you've got to pay staff or you've got to pay your utility bills, you've got to have a marketing budget. It can be $100 or it can just be your time, but you have to dedicate resources to this or you're missing out on a significant amount of potential shoppers. And so really studying, laying the foundation like we talked about, identifying your core keywords, your secondary keywords, looking at your acquisition, your conversion rates, and then setting a budget. These are things that can help you start to understand where your successes are and build on those. Next, we're going to talk about social media, and we could spend days and days and days talking about social media, and it's so easy to get lost in social media as well. It is certainly one of the most popular ways to promote your content and reach influencers. And since a great content promotion plan brings potential customers to your website, and influencing the influencer can generate thousands of new leads, social media is invaluable to startups. And we're going to talk about influencers here in just a moment. Of course, though, there are a few tricks to get the most out of it. And we're going to cover 5 tips for a strong social media strategy. And you can see those 5 tips right here. And we're going to go through each one. So first, choosing the right network. The first tip is really identifying where you want to get started. Startups tend to choose the social media networks that they engage with, the most without much strategy. So I'm starting a new bakery and I love Facebook. All of my friends are on Facebook. And that is not true because I personally don't like Facebook, but let's say that I'm the bakery owner and all my friends are on Facebook. So I'm going to start interacting with customers on Facebook. And I start my page and I have absolutely no strategy. I'm going to spend a lot of time. I'm not going to get a lot of interaction and I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to throw my hands up in the air. The 2 most common mistakes that startups make are trying to master every network and trying to master certain networks just because the competition is doing it. If all of your competitors are on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, you should be too, right? Well, maybe, but maybe not. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Reddit, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. These are all of some of the most popular social networks today, and all of them can be great content promotion and community building tools, but they all have very unique characteristics. Facebook, for example, is typically powered by your existing customers who enjoy visual posts like pictures and video. Twitter, on the other hand, is often powered by potential customers who respond well to links. Each social network works differently, as in how the community takes, interprets, and digests your sharing and content varies. Reddit is often referred to as a very guarded network. Unlike Twitter, here you can't just schedule various messages every day. The content you share in Reddit has to be specific and unique to the categories that you choose. Reddit, like other networks, requires a slower approach. You can't just jump on, run some ads, and expect people to, upvote all your content. Be mindful of the network and community you are trying to reach. Just like we said earlier, who is your customer and where are they interacting? Meet your customers where they are, and it may not be in the social space that you first thought. Consider the demographic of the social network itself. Let's take Tumblr, for example. Tumblr caters to a young, laid-back audience that loves sharing inspiring quotes and funny pictures. Instagram could be the same. If you're targeting this audience, don't spend your time on LinkedIn. If your target market is baby boomers, probably don't need to spend a ton of time on TikTok, but rather Facebook. So knowing your customer is the first step, and then meeting them where they are online is the next. The second tip for a strong social media strategy is defining the best times to post. The idea that there is a perfect time to post or tweet on Facebook or, update your Instagram or Snap is a myth. If you're targeting teenagers, morning and nights might be the best to post because they're in school during the day, or they're at least supposed to be. During the summer, well, that's a whole different story. There's simply no universal perfect time to post. There are, however, some best practices. And so the following slides outline the most current best times to post on various social networks. These figures change, so keep checking in every year to see what is moving the needle. You can see that on Facebook, the best day to post is Wednesday and the worst day is Sunday. We also see that the best times to post is between 10 and 11 a.m., the worst weekends and weekdays after 5. Whereas Instagram, very, very different. Best day, still Wednesday, worst day, Sunday. But the best times to post are Monday, Tuesday, and Friday around 11 and Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Again, this is all just generating data based on when users are most active on these platforms. On Twitter, the best time to post is between 7 and 9 a.m. as people are getting their news, right? Twitter is a lot of times sharing news, and people are getting their news most often in the mornings. Pinterest, worst time to post is in the evenings. Best time, Friday and Saturday, whereas Facebook was not so much on the weekends. And then on YouTube, Thursdays and Fridays are the best day, the best times between 2 and 4 p.m. So again, all of these kind of metrics and data change, but we know that there are very specific attributes to each of these social media sites based on their users. LinkedIn is obviously more of a business friendly and business networking. And so the best time, Wednesdays at 3 p.m., right? Everyone kind of hits that 3 p.m. sluggish time. They're grabbing coffee and they're checking LinkedIn. Definitely not on Sundays. So really be mindful of how these social media sites are changing. Who is your consumer, and interact when they are on social media. The third tip for a strong social media strategy is to use a keyword list. And if you remember earlier, we talked about identifying those keywords. Now it's time to put that keyword list you created earlier into good use. When it comes to social media, you will use your keyword list to maximize your engagement efforts. If you're marketing an online shopping club for families, you'll want to ensure you're having family and shopping focused discussions on social media, obviously. The easiest way to do this is to use a social networking management tool like Hootsuite. Some of you may be familiar with Hootsuite. A lot of us that manage various social media sites, especially Twitter, use Hootsuite. But this way, you can set up search streams of your core keywords, basically hashtags. And so using this kind of online shopping club for families as an example, one of their streams might be for the keyword online shopping clubs. There on Hootsuite, you'll be able to monitor all of the conversations happening around that keyword, and you can jump in and, more importantly, kind of start to solidify a reputation in this space related to this keyword, maybe get some new followers. We have a question that came up, and this is a great question. You mentioned that social media timing changes often. Do you have a favorite site to use to continuously check that timing? Yes, my favorite site to manage all things social media is Mashable. I'm going to type it in the chat just because it's kind of a funny word. But Mashable is really an online kind of news site all about social media marketing. And here you can find the kind of Cliffs Notes when there's a change in the algorithm for any of these social media sites. You can find when new products are dropped on those social media sites. It can be overwhelming, so don't feel like you have to know everything, but definitely follow them on Twitter and find what they're posting, read the headlines, and check out what they're saying and how those systems are changing. This is a great, great question. So we've identified our keywords. We are following hashtags that relate to those keywords. We're jumping in on those conversations. And remember that the keyword list can be used to help target any online ads you may be running. So you see, we're kind of saying the same thing over and over again, and that is intentional. We see so many businesses that don't have a keyword list. They're running ads that are just all over the place. Keeping it tight to your keywords, your categories, making sure that your content falls within those categories, your ads fall within those categories, your social media posts fall within those categories, maybe reference hashtags regarding those categories, and you're monitoring those categories on Hootsuite really keeps your marketing strategy very, very tight. And this is how you start developing and enhancing your brand. So next we want to talk about creating and using an influencer list. And so this is kind of our fourth tip for a strong social media strategy. As we previously mentioned, one of the best marketing techniques online is to influence the influencer. It'll take a long time for your startup to develop a highly influential relationship with thousands of people, right? That's everyone's biggest question. How do I get more people? How do I get them to focus on my sites? This can be hard. For example, kind of that family-oriented business that we mentioned earlier might look to connect with a famous celebrity mother via Twitter. Well, we're going to find it very difficult to align ourselves with celebrity. So we're not talking about the Kardashians or we're not talking about movie stars. What we're talking about are power users in your space or in your community. You're going to really focus on connecting with the people that already have influence over your target market. So maybe, you are a local sporting goods retailer in your community. And maybe there is a high school football quarterback that has, that's getting looked at from different colleges, and maybe he has 8,000 followers on Instagram. Well, aligning with him or her is a great strategy, right? Maybe you pay that individual, obviously going through compliance, and maybe sports isn't the best example, but maybe you pay that individual to promote some of your posts, to do a kind of a sponsored post where they talk about shopping in your store or utilizing some of the merchandise in your store. This is a great way to now get your store, promotion and coverage for all 8,000 of that individual's followers. So this is what we're talking about with influencers. It doesn't have to be someone super famous, somebody in your space. And when that individual, starts talking about your product to their list, and their list is primarily aligned with your target market, then it is a very organic way to grow credibility, but also grow your platform. Journalists and community leaders, can be great influencers as well. So don't just limit yourself to, famous people who can be very tricky and expensive to connect with. Build your influencer list with a bit of market research. So you want to start by finding popular blogs or news sites or accounts in your space. Who writes for them? Who owns them? Who's posting for them? Search for your core keywords on their channels and see what matches up. Search for your core keywords on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and see what pops up. Who appears in the results? Who are they following? And how can you align strategically with those sites? Remember also, though, a high follower count is not the only indication of influence. Look for how engaged their followers are and their follower to following ratio. This is really important because you may see that there is a site or an influencer, a user that has 10,000 followers, but maybe they're following 20,000 people and they're just randomly following people to try to get a follow back. That's not a quality influencer. So really spend some time looking in your space. Who are those influencers locally that you might already know that might be a natural fit, and see if you can work out a partnership. 78% of social media users said that posts by brands influenced their purchase behavior moderately or highly. And if any of you joined our training over the holidays that we had in, I believe it was November, you know that we talked about this being a huge holiday trend, that so many individuals were going to social media to get inspired for their holiday purchases, whether that was by influencers or by gift guides or video kind of reveals of some of these items that individuals are selling. So this is certainly something that's on the rise and a pretty easy way to get aligned. All right, the fifth tip for a strong social media strategy is to set up a blog. And we've talked about this a little bit, might seem a bit antiquated, but I can assure you it is not. Setting up a blog can be quite simple. It's a matter of downloading the software, uploading it to your server, and following the setup instructions. WordPress, for example, is free and offers really easy, amazing plugins. Yoast SEO is one, for example. You can install Yoast, which is an SEO search engine optimization plugin that will help Google and other search engines locate and rank your content. Some other great plugins include Akismet, Calendar, and featured posts. So really what we're talking about here is creating a dedicated space on your website where you can post content. This is original content. This can be curated content. If there's a news article that's applicable to your business, post it there, write a brief commentary, and then have a call to action. Sign up for our newsletter, check out our new, collection of clothing or candles or whatever it is. So really think about driving traffic to your website through search engines such as Google. So you've got your WordPress set up, you've got, maybe it's on your existing website, a news tab, you're posting. You've installed an SEO plugin like Yoast to really help drive traffic and rank your content. And then next, you're going to set up the basics like blog categories and tags. This is what we talked about earlier, having your keywords serving as your blog categories, and start filtering your own content into categories that people are already searching for when they're looking for a business like yours. Once the back end of your blog is ready to go, now you need to think about the curb appeal. How does your design look? Does it align with the branding of your logo, your business, your marketing materials? If you can't do it yourself, ask a professional designer to help design your website or your blog, or give it a small revamp. But also sites like Canva can do this for free. With free versions, you can get templates for branding, for blog plugins. So really look into some of the free versions if you don't have a budget to hire designers. But remember that design is important as it relates to the user experience. It does help, consumers feel a certain way. The design certainly contributes to kind of the brand experience, but don't worry so much about the design that it's all consuming. Your blog is about publishing really great content at the right time to the right people. Your design should simply enhance that experience. And so, I don't want anybody to get overwhelmed by content. What are we talking about? If you can manage to put up one piece of content per week, that is a huge win. Some companies like ours at Retail Strategies, we're looking to put new content, several times a week, driving traffic to our website. You may only have the ability to do one post per month. Start there. But don't overthink it. You don't have to be a journalist. You don't have to think about it back in English class. This can be a recipe that is a family favorite that might relate to, Mother's Day coming up. So maybe you're a clothing store and Mother's Day is coming up. Create a Mother's Day gift guide, items from your store and also items from other stores in your downtown or in the greater Sandy Springs community. If you tag the companies that you're sharing their items on your gift guide, they're going to retweet you. They're going to reshare it. That's going to, expose your post to a whole new level of traffic. And so these are really the reasons that creating content is important. If you have an insurance agency, you can be creating content. Why do I need insurance? What do I do when my kid starts driving? What's the first thing to do? What are 5 steps to make that process easy? These are all things that you can create easily to drive traffic to your website. Okay, so we've made it through social media, and kind of our last tip here is that while WordPress is not the only blogging platform, it is the most widely used and it is simple to use. There are tons of YouTube videos about WordPress. It can be free depending on what you're trying to do with it, and it is an easy way to set up a website. It's very widely used and super simple. So we've made it through social media. We've made it through laying the foundation for kind of your marketing. Now we're going to move over to PR. We've talked a lot about content creation and sharing that content. Now we're going to talk about how to really manage your public relations. And so there are three fundamentals to startup PR, and we're going to go through each one. And when we think about PR, really what is it? It boils down to what to say, when to say it, and who to say it to. This is messaging. So our first kind of fundamental to startup PR is crafting meaningful positioning statements. And this may seem a bit overwhelming, but we're going to walk you through it. And really, it's pretty simple. It's like creating an elevator pitch, right? Much like a great elevator pitch should lie in the mind of any entrepreneur, a series of engaging positioning statements are vital. While constructing two sentences may seem easy, crafting effective statements can sometimes be challenging. So we're going to start by identifying what is the product and how it will affect others. Think of the product as the solution created to solve a worldwide problem, right? Your product, your service is making someone's life better. How? That's what we want to identify. This is an important measure to remember when marketing and selling your product. Why does this product exist? Why will it help them? Why do they need this? And don't really think of it as selling a product. Like we've said, think of it as solving a problem. Okay. And then who's going to care about the product? That's something that's really important to identify. So what is your product? How will it affect others? And who will care? Positioning statements combine these three key factors into two sentences that are used to market the product and pitch it to the media. To ensure success, it is important that these statements not only articulate what the product is capable of, but that they clearly describe its value proposition as well. So now we're kind of pulling everything together that we talked about in the first part of this training, where we were talking about identifying your market, your target market. Now we're taking that and putting that into a 2-sentence positioning statement. What is your product? How will it affect others? And who will care? You do not need tons and tons and tons of content on your website that is just inconsequential words. You need to be really concise. And this is not only on your website. Think about on your Facebook page, the about section. Think about your Instagram bio. There's room for maybe 1 or 2 sentences. This is your positioning statement. And this is really why these things are important. And again, keeping it tight. We've said that over and over again. So second of all, defining your startup sensitivities. By identifying your competitors' strengths and weaknesses, you can better understand how to market your product better. Why is their solution to this universal problem that their product solves better than those before it? And same with you. How do you stack up against the competition? Why should they choose you? Are there weaknesses? Let's identify those. So we want to be creative. Study the competition, use spreadsheets, visual imagery, or lists. For example, for our company, Retail Strategies, we've created a visual list of strategic plans. So for our Downtown Strategies platform, we are creating 5-year downtown strategic plans. So we have a column that says what strategic plans are and aren't. And then we have a column for master plans, city comprehensive plans, really stacking up against the competition, what we are and what we are not, and why that is important to our target market. So visual imagery, lists, really making it interesting and creative is important. Harness all of the information available on your product and its competitors and study it. Look at each closely, determine the strengths and weaknesses. If there are others who have an edge, then look at an angle where they are lacking. Again, you really want to identify why your business, your product, your service is best. And it doesn't always have to be because of price. Then we want to focus on the 1 or 2 strongest aspects of your value proposition and lean heavily on these hooks. So again, maybe your value proposition is price. Maybe you are the cheapest product out there. Maybe you have the best staff. Maybe you're high end and that's what you want to be. You want to provide a high end service or product to a specific community. Identify what those are and then talk about them consistently. These are really important things. And when we talk about media interest, what are we talking about? Well, if you're a restaurant, we want your restaurant to be listed on the best of Sandy Springs list. And so how do we get that restaurant in the minds of those that are making that list? It's through content, it's through reviews, it's through imagery, it's through talking about why you are superior. So that's what we mean by media. Getting noticed and promoted for free is an excellent way to really grow your business. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, right? So this is really where we see that kind of retail and restaurant synergy. We want to see a downtown or a main street with 3 or 4 restaurants. That's ideal for us. And for those specific restaurants as well, it's good for them to have their competition nearby because that gives them a way to show their differentiating factors. All right, so next we're going to talk about identifying the right writers, okay? So the importance of identifying who will care about the product, remember, is not only relevant in terms of crafting your positioning statements, like we talked about earlier, but also in identifying the right writers for a media list as well. Any media outlet employs a number of qualified writers capable of telling the story. But you should be careful to pitch only writers who will be the best fit for your product. Though time-consuming, this simple step should never be overlooked. And again, what are we talking about here with media? We're talking about a review, a write-up, a best-of list, including one of your products in their gift guides, in their magazine. How many businesses would love to be listed in Garden and Gun magazine or Southern Living? This is how you get their attention. And so, you want to determine those key media outlets of interest. Maybe it is Southern Living, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that is very, very specific to your niche. So you want to determine those key media outlets and then search for stories with similar themes or relevance to your own. Look at the writers who have covered those stories. So maybe you have a great bar and you make the best mint julep in the entire Southeast. Write about who's written about cocktails. Find out who those writers are. Follow them on Twitter. Start engaging with them on Twitter. That's how you pitch kind of your story. You don't send them an email and say, I would love for you to cover my mojito because it's the best there ever is. No, it's about engaging with them in their space, get them to start taking a look at what you have and what you do. And this is really a great way to get attention from these power users. So once you've identified the writers to connect with, as we mentioned, use social media to engage with them, build relationships, and ask nothing. Do not ask them to cover you. Do not ask them to feature you, but build a relationship with them. Set up private Twitter lists of the writers of interest and actively respond to them and retweet their posts. Make friends with them, right? People love to have their information retweeted and for there to be engagement. So this is really what we're talking about. Relationships with writers are not always easy to build, but the effort to achieve them can mean really great story coverage and the opportunity to be covered again in the future. So even if you're not in a position to leverage journalists or writers, you should still be connecting and making these relationships because in due time, they will always benefit you and your startup. Record baseline metrics, again, as it relates to PR. Who is covering you? What news articles have been written? Post those to your blog because, again, that shows that they're building kind of on this narrative. So our fourth component to the Startup Marketing Manual is content creation. And thank you all for hanging with me. I know this is a lot of information. We are almost wrapped up, so be sure to continue to let me know if you have any questions. So our fourth component, content creation. With a blog set up, and your PR in full swing, it's time to kick content creation into high gear. Managing a blog and other forms of content can seem daunting, especially to not so great writers. But fortunately, there are 4 steps that will give your business the information that you need to really get serious on content creation. So, how do we start? What are the steps? We've got 4 steps for you that can really pull all of this together. So, number 1, creating a topic list. You've got a good looking blog, you've designed it, you're ready to create this content promotion strategy, but something's missing, the content. So before you dive in and start writing, create a topic list. The perfect topic list is based on your core keywords. Remember, we talked about that at the very beginning of this training, identifying those core keywords for search engine optimization purposes. So using your core keywords on your blog, build credibility with search engines. Start by brainstorming 10 topic ideas around each of your core keywords. And if you attended the omni-channel retail strategies training we did a couple months ago, then you will have received a content calendar template. If you don't have that, you can check with Caroline at the City of Sandy Springs. She will have that. And this is an Excel spreadsheet that you can use to really chart this out. So we're talking about 10 topic ideas around each of your core keywords. When possible, use your keywords in the titles, but not where it feels unnatural. So if we're thinking about 10 topics for each keyword, think about these seasonally, right? Every season has a bit of a different theme. We just talked about Mother's Day coming up. We just had Easter. Then it's going to be summer and barbecue and 4th of July and fireworks. And then it's back to school. And then it's, fall, it's Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So there are so many ways to incorporate holidays and really kind of natural seasonal timelines into your content creation. And again, use those keywords. Maybe you have an antique store and we know that there are some huge antique shows that happen around the country in the summer. Maybe you want to do a spotlight on one of those big antique shows and then talk about the best antique stores in your part of Georgia. And of course, yours is going to be number 1. So these are really easy ways to use relevant topics in the news, in the calendar, to build 10 topic ideas around each of your core keywords. So once you do that, you're going to have between 30 and 50 topics that you can think about writing. Then put all of these into a calendar. Remember, we gave you that template. Use that workbook to chart out all of these into a calendar. When will each of these be published? Who's going to write them? Are any of them already in progress? This blog calendar will help you track your topics from conception to completion. Add them on your personal calendar and think about maybe one a week. If you've got 50 topic ideas, maybe you have 10 for each of your 5 keywords. That's enough to post one a week. And then that takes care of all your content creation for the entire year. So this is really a little bit less daunting than you think. Be sure to add descriptions to your topic ideas. So once we've developed that list of 30 to 50 topic ideas, add some descriptions about what you're thinking, because you might not remember your main points when you go to write the post 3 months from now. A couple bullet points will do it. And easily now you've got your full list of content. Next, we're thinking about knowing what type of content to publish. So there are really kind of 4 main types of content to be published, excluding blog content, which is something that we've already talked about pretty extensively. Like social networks, each one of these types of content has unique advantages and disadvantages. Consider your options carefully. Always keep your target market in mind. And remember, don't try to do a little bit of everything right away. We're really thinking about using what is important for your list, for your consumers. Maybe it's a newsletter. If you're a retail business, it's newsletter and video. If you're selling a service, it's an ebook or a guide or maybe a webinar. And I'm sorry, sorry, I thought we had another question, but I've already answered that one. So really important to know your audience, know when each of these is appropriate. Video is certainly on the rise. These can be quick, like reels, or these can be, longer, more professional videos. But think about this when you are starting to plan out your calendar. Next, we're going to talk about guest blogging. And this is so fun and so easy and a great way to break up the monotony, but also it's a way to get new people in your space with them sharing and expose your audience to really new content, new people, and then expose their audience as well to your business. So guest blogging is vital for startups. It is a great way to build your reputation in the space. But second, having someone influential, like we talked about, guest blog, is an easy way to drive traffic. Now, maybe you're writing the post for them and they're simply signing off of it and putting their picture on it, and then they're tweeting about it, right? So you're not having to depend on them to truly write it, but this is really a way to drive traffic to your business to grow your reach. Next, capturing emails. Email subscriptions already been mentioned a few times already, but capturing emails can be divided into 3 categories. Email submits can come from ebook downloads or similar offers. So this is basically gated content where you are providing something free to your audience, but you're asking them to enter their email address first. Next, we have newsletter subscriptions, which are just this, people that are interested in regular updates from you. And then blog subscriptions are straightforward. This is where you can ask someone to follow or subscribe to your blog, where every time you post something new, they are notified. And so our 5th and final component to the Startup Marketing Manual is to test and iterate. And so by now, your marketing strategy should be in full motion. We've gone through all of these steps and giving you lots of information and examples. Nobody gets it first. Nobody gets it perfect on the first try. There's always room for improvement. And that is where testing and iteration comes into play. Remember back to our core metrics that we talked about. How are you defining success in your business? You really want to keep, those 2 things in mind here as you test. So what are we talking about with testing and iterating? Well, first, we're talking about setting up analytics tools. These can be free. The key to measuring your success is a great analytics tool. So you don't really need something expensive and frilly. Check out Google Analytics. Put this on your website. It'll give you the basics. And over time, you will learn to master kind of the behind the scenes mechanics of it. Where are your people coming from? Are they visiting your site on mobile or on their desktop? What sites are they visiting the most? And if you're the number one site on the number one page on your site is this great, blog post that you posted that gave a cool recipe for the holiday season, do more content just like that. So you're trying to see what your consumers are interacting with and give them more of what they want. Next, you're going to measure against your benchmarks. So earlier, you recorded your baseline metrics, which is what you're using as benchmarks going forward. So ideally, you're measuring week over week and month over month growth, whether that is subscriptions, whether that is revenue, whatever it is. But if you make the mistake of waiting for just month over month data, you could be too late. Really look and see, get into the data and see what your customers like and give them more of what they want. So you're really looking for consistent growth. When you see significant growth or decline, be sure that you can attribute it to some event. Maybe it was a tweet that went viral or a newsletter that was a huge disaster. Isolate what you did differently and either replicate it or avoid it going forward. And our tip, if you can't manage it, you can't manage it. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So be sure that you are looking at these benchmarks regularly. Brainstorming creative new ideas is critical. So while tweaking what you're already doing is great, coming up with brand new ideas is even better. It is not enough to only iterate and optimize what you've been doing, but the most successful startups are always trying creative new things. Maybe it's a contest on social media, a funny video, a new online course, a clever PR angle. Really, the list is endless. But many of your new and innovative ideas can fail. Know that. It's okay. Try to do something different the next time. The name of the game is agility and flexibility and thinking forward. Finally, we'd like to provide some best practices for startups looking to create marketing plans of their own. What are the industry experts saying? What are the top startups doing? Here are 3 startup marketing best practices. Number 1, sell the solution. Too many startups focus on the problem instead of the solution, right? Founders design a solution for the problem, which means that they're always focused on the problem. Unfortunately, it's the solution that appeals to those customers. So realistically, there are hundreds of products that could solve the problem of, for example, low productivity. What makes your solution the perfect choice? Focus on the solution. Number 2, have a compelling story. Storytelling is a powerful sales tool. If you have a compelling story, use it. How did you come up with your solution? What's your background? What is your team like? Did you struggle in the beginning? Are you still struggling? Use your story to differentiate yourself from the competition. People want to get to know you. Startup marketing is all about the customer and establishing an authentic relationship. Having a relatable story to tell is a fast track to success. Number 3, use all of your resources. Your team is arguably one of your biggest marketing tools. That may just be you. That may be you and one other person. Their passion for what your startup is doing can be called evangelism. Use it to your advantage. Send them out into the world excited to tell your startup story to anybody that they meet. But don't stop there. Ride the buzz from a trending topic by writing a blog post on it or creating a video about it. Get testimonials and reviews. Run a contest around a major holiday to drum up some hype. Be sure you are not overlooking marketing resources, big or small. And in conclusion, startup marketing is a complex science. There's a lot out there. Some really great ideas have failed due to a lack of customer awareness. If you're not sharing your story, nobody's going to know what you have to offer. Others have gone under thanks to a poor strategy. But still, other great ideas have spiraled to billion-dollar fame. Business owners and entrepreneurs everywhere can stop searching for that elusive secret to startup marketing success. It's simply the sweet spot between content, marketing, and PR. And I hope today that we have given you some really specific and tangible strategies for beginning your journey in content, marketing, and PR. If you leave with nothing else, create your keyword list. That's number 1. And you see how many times we have come to this. So I know I've taken about 10 minutes more of your time than I was supposed to. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Happy to take any questions. And just as a reminder, there is bonus content behind this, which we won't go into right now, but Startup Success, Essential Digital Marketing Strategies for Entrepreneurs. We're giving you basically 5 digital marketing tips to grow your business. So be sure and look for this in the email to come early next week so that you can receive that bonus content. And for now, I'm happy to take any questions. So please let me know in the chat or in the question and answer box if there's anything you want to talk about. But if you have to jump off, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jen Gregory for Retail Strategies. Thank you again for your time. And thank you to Sandy Springs and to Caroline and her team for bringing this training to all of you. So happy to stay on for a few minutes, but thank you all so much and look forward to continuing the conversation with you.